talk about Al-Qaeda, that was in Afghanistan before, they can of course operate their websites and use their email services from another country as well. They don't need to be located in exactly the same country. So there is a lot of flexibility, and the same flexibility the internet offers, the terrorist organizations need. So I would just like to give you some ideas where the terrorists are already using the internet. Would just like to give you one example. I was growing up in a town not far away from one of these NATO air bases where they have these planes with a big radar screen on the top. Top secret. So I mean, everybody in this area knew that there was an airfield because planes were landing and starting and you could see them. But in all maps that you were able to buy, this was not marked as an airfield. Secret information, the enemy shouldn't get aware of this. And still in many maps you can buy from this area, you don't find the airfield. But when you go to the internet and use a service like this one where you can see the satellite pictures, you can not only see that there is an airfield, you can see even how many planes there are standing there. So I mean, this is something the terrorists are using. What sense does it make to restrict information in a regular map you can buy if you get more information in the internet? And it's not only that these search engines are offering you the possibility to find secret information, it's about the same when we're talking about information that were by accident offered in the internet. There was a case in the United States where they put some information how to build a nuclear bomb on a website by accident. They didn't want to do it. But scientists called them and said, listen, this information that you have just placed on your website that should prove that Iraq was building a bomb can be used by terrorists to build a bomb, so you should better remove them. So it's very easy to find those information, and these information are used. There were British troops in Afghanistan who got aware of the fact that there were really very, very well and very precise missile hits in their main camp, and they didn't know why these attacks can be so precise until they found out that information from Google Earth or any other satellite picture operator were used to control these attacks. And I mean, it's not only using those services. If you want to know how to build a bomb, it is much easier today to find this information on the internet. In the past, you might have found them if you know the right people, if you know the right library, but today you can find this information easily on the internet. So that's one of the use. I mean, terrorists are of course using that. We know some cases where we have information that they did use it, and it's quite likely that more of them will use this because we use the services, so why shouldn't they? Another thing is they use websites. In 1989, only very few terrorist organizations had websites. Today, all of them have websites. They use them for various reasons. They have a lot of advantages. Everybody can access them. Normally, when you publish information, print out, you will only publish it in the region. It's very expensive. And if you're based in, for example, Northern Ireland, people who might be interested in supporting your fight wouldn't be able to access the information. The internet is much easier. You can publish everything for very low costs. And it's not only used for that. Media is very interested in websites. If you follow reports about terrorism, you find very often quotation from websites. You see pictures, and they of course use these websites to distribute videos like this one, propaganda material. So there's a close relation between media on the one hand side and terrorist information and disinformation on the other side. Media is interested in websites, terrorists realize this and are publishing information on websites. Another issue, what they're doing via the internet is recruitment. I mean, there are many people who are interested in supporting terrorist organizations for various reasons, and these websites are used to get in contact with these people. And they're very clever. It's not just like a contact information where you say, okay, I can leave a message, please contact me and send me some material about you. If you access this website, they will try to identify who you are and try to get in contact with you. And if you come back, they will try to find out how he's coming the second time. This is a potential candidate for us. So they have developed a number of mechanisms that e-business companies are using as well to try to get in closer contact with potential customers. For them, it is potential members. And they use it for communication. I mean, I don't know if there is anybody in this room who is not using email services. I would wonder if there are any terrorists that are not using email services if they are available. The advantage is you can get them everywhere. There is very little regulation on the use of emails. You can get them without a registration process, a sufficient registration process. You can use nicknames and whatever, and you can get access wherever you are. I mean, there is about no place in the world, even in an African country, you find many places where you can access emails. So it's wonderful. If you travel a lot to the destinations where you want to place your bombs, easy to get access to the information there. And that's not everything. I mean, emails can be encrypted. So this is another possibility for you to get additional security for the communication among the members of the groups. And encryption is one big difficulty when it comes to terrorist communication, because there are just very few reports about this issue, but this is something because the use of encryption technology is becoming so easy and so powerful that there are great fears that this technology could be used in a way that law enforcement agencies, even if they have information that there is an attack being planned, don't have access to the information. So that will be a topic that will follow us. That's just a suggestion. I was pretty good with suggestions in the last Chaos Communication congresses where I gave speeches. My suggestion is, or my fear is, that this will be a topic that will be discussed next year and the coming years. Encryption technology, how states should deal with encryption technology, and especially it comes down to restricting encryption technology, because I'm not a technician again, but it's very interesting to see how powerful encryption is and how little the possibilities of those people who want to break the encryption by the classic brute force attack is how little the chances are to break the encryption. So unless there are no means to circumvent the protection, for example, social engineering, I mean, it's not only done by criminals, it can be done by law enforcement as well. As long as they don't have this possibility, there's a great fear that we will have a restriction in this area anyway to restrict encryption technology, because terrorists, if they use it, they have a great potential of causing difficulties with regard to investigation. Yeah, terrorist financing is another issue. What you can do is, terrorists need money. Just very few of them have sufficient money, so they are not depending on donations. Many of them are depending on donations. So a number of terrorist organizations are leaving information on their website how you can donate money. And the interest of the terrorist organization is to make it as easy as possible and as safe as possible for the people who are donating. Because if you're making a donation of €50 and the police is standing in front of your door the next day and says, knock, knock, you just supported a terrorist organization, we're going to take you in prison, you won't be able to make another donation. So for pure egoistic reasons, they are very interested in protecting you. So they are trying to install systems to make it as easy as possible for you. You can, for example, send the money via Western Union. You can use prepaid credit cards. You can use e-gold, any virtual currency. And one very clever way, from my point of view, is what they can do is they set up fake shops. You have a shop with high price goods. For example, a leather bag for $5,000 US. So it looks like a regular shop, it's a regular company, but it's a company that is owned by a terrorist organization. So if you buy something there, it looks like a regular transaction. You simply transfer money for something you got. But either you don't get the good, so it's a pure donation, €5,000 for nothing, or you get something which is not worth €5,000. So how do they ensure that law enforcement agencies don't get, they would recognize that there is something going wrong if they are trying to order something and don't get anything. So how do they ensure that law enforcement agencies do not get aware of this? Well, if they complain and said, we didn't get our bag, they're sending out one bag. So those ones who want to donate will never ask for a bag, and those ones who say, why is my bag not here, they will get a bag. But this is very difficult for law enforcement agencies to trace this back. And the last point, and I would like to make this rather short, is they're using the internet for money laundering purposes. And I will not get in detail here, but I would just like to point out that it is rather easy to use the internet for money laundering purposes. I don't want to give you instructions here, but what I'm telling you here is something you can find everywhere on the internet, like plans to build a bomb, so I'm not telling you any secrets. Just very briefly, if you're a criminal up here and you have some $50,000 US, and we're talking about small amounts, it doesn't work if you have 40 million. If there's anybody here who has a problem with 40 million on his account, go out, it's not for you. So if you have 50,000, and that's the amount we're talking about for terrorist organization, it's cheap. A tax like the one in the United States, it's rather cheap. You would be surprised. So they only need rather small amounts. So what they're doing is, first of all, they transfer the money, split it into 2 or 3 parts and transfer it via Western Union to an online casino. We have hundreds of online casinos. You simply choose a nickname, a password, you're a member of an online casino. They are asking you to transfer the money so you can play a game of chance. And you transfer $50,000, but you only play with $1. You lose, like most of the cases. So now you say to the online casino, dear online casino, I'm not interested in using your services anymore, give me back my money. So they ask you, how do you want it back? Western Union, do you want it on your credit card? You say, no, I would like to have it on my eGold account. So you quickly open an eGold account and it's not here. The spot is not here. By accident, most of the eGold accounts, most of the virtual currencies are run in Arabic countries. So, or a number of them. So what the next step is, you get a transfer from the casino that says, lucky winner, here are your $49,000. So you can, at this time it is already difficult for the law enforcement agencies to prove that you didn't win the money in the casino, but you've transferred all the money. So next thing is you buy something at eBay. There are some lists of goods that you can buy and sell for the same price. You cannot make any profit, but you don't lose anything. And these lists only have one idea. The idea is that you can use it for money laundering purposes. So you buy something like a TV set, which doesn't lose its value. With your 49,000, you buy 10 of them and you sell them again. And then you ask eBay. eBay is asking you, or the customer is asking you, where do you want the money? You say, not on my account, please on PayPal. And then you could continue this. And let's leave out eBay, because eBay is always taking some time with regard to the duration of the auction. Everything else can be done within half an hour. Believe me, if you split it around the world, law enforcement agencies will need years to trace this back. So, of course, terrorists can use this to launder the money they have. Okay, the conclusion. Terrorists use the internet. Well, it would be surprising if they wouldn't do it. The extent and the intensity, even if we take the information that are not based on sufficient numbers, the intent is less than what we have with regard to the other cyber crimes. There are many more other crimes. We know, for example, that there are information or there are advices that terrorist groups, if they're running out of money, they should set up a child porn website where they sell child pornography, because you can make rather a lot of money in a rather short period of time by selling child pornography. So of course they're committing computer crimes like dissemination of child pornography. But especially those cases that we're afraid of, hacking attacks, dissemination of viruses, that's something which is just, if it is happening, if these information are right, it's just happening in a very small amount of cases, so we don't really have to be afraid of those terrorists that are overrunning us with cybercrime. And of course they're using the other technology, and we have many websites, but we have many more websites with different other illegal content than those websites with illegal propaganda from terrorist organizations. So when we're talking about special legislation for terrorists, I have to say why. Why do we need something special? Those crimes that the terrorists are carrying out are the same crimes any other criminals doing. Criminals who want to commit the crime, hacking or whatever, they're using the same technology to communicate, and they use the same technology to commit the crimes. People who want to launder money are using the same technology. We don't, from my point of view, there is very little justification for special laws with regard to terrorism, because one of the things we discussed in the previous session was, in many cases, these laws that are installed just for a special target group are later on, especially if they're successful, open for other target groups. So if we now implement special regulations with regard to terrorism, it is very likely that others will say, okay, we need it for child pornography as well, we need it for hacking, for copyright violations. So in this moment we have powerful instruments, but we're using them for a completely different target group without questioning again the justification. So from my point of view, and I'm very happy, I'm very interested to hear your point of view, it is very questionable if we really need different laws to address terrorism in the internet. I think it's a phenomenon of cybercrime, but it's nothing which is so dangerous, which is so special, that this would require new laws. I would like to thank you for your attention. If there are any questions related to this presentation, I'm more than happy to assist you and try to answer your questions, and I'm of course more than willing to try to answer your questions that you have here right now.
We have about quarter of an hour for questioning before Marco has to leave.